Hi, welcome to Ben and Barry on Football. My name is Barry Sterling Mitchell. I produce the Sterling Net Point Power Rankings, and I'm the guy on this side of the picture. On the other side of the picture,
That handsome guy right there off my shoulder, that's Ben Dickerson, that's me.
anyway, as you know the story, Ben and Barry on Football, we've been arguing or debating football for some odd close to 40 years around there. Best friends, even though he's a Giants fan and I'm a Niners fan. But when we talk about the matchups, as we're going to do in this the matchup show, doesn't make any difference who you're a fan of, because we're looking at the matchups based on the Sterling Net Point Power Rankings main categories of net points, points for, points against, turnover differential. And what you'll hear us talk about is something called the bias. And there's two types of bias. There's a net point bias and a turnover differential bias. Those do happen to be the only two categories of statistics which have both positive and negative attributes. So you have teams in the negative on net point, and you have teams in the negative on turnover differential. So when you're looking at a matchup, what we do is we say, okay, if you are a net point 100 and I'm a net point 5, the difference of 95 favors you. It's a bias plus, bias, net point bias. That's what it should be called, a net point bias of the amount of net points. The difference will be 95. So the bias would go to the team with the 95 net point. Turnover differential, again, we're looking at that differential between the two teams. So if I have plus 10 turnovers, and my differential, turnover differential plus 10, and you are plus 1, then I'm favored again relative to the turnover differential bias by the difference of 9. And then we take that, put that together, what we call a bias plus, where you add that turnover differential number to that net point differential number, and the two biases combined give you the bias plus. So if I have a net point advantage of 9 and a turnover differential bias of 10, my bias plus is going to be 30. So let's go through some of these, man, and I think it'll make more sense for the people who are listening in. Actually, one thing we did find out about this coming weekend is, again, no Thursday games, no Saturday games.
Yeah, the college bowl games will be on Saturday.
And no Monday night game.
No need for that.
Last game of the season. Somewhat depressing.
Playoff implications all around, though. So
Playoff implications
almost every single game means something to someone.
Yes, absolutely. Absolutely. So let's start it off. We will share some information with you. See here. Want to get something together. Go, and there we go. All right. And all right. The matchup show, NFL Week 17, 2018. It's been a long season. We were recording straight through the preseason.
Yes, I'm happy about that.
21 weeks. 21 weeks of recording. Let's look at the first matchup on the list today. Your away team is Miami. Your home team is Buffalo. Net point bias is going to Miami at 41 net points and a 16 turnover differential margin favoring Miami, putting the bias plus at 57.
Yeah, I mean, these are division rivals. Neither one of them is really going anywhere. For some strange reason, in the back of my mind, I can hear somebody saying Miami has the slimmest of hopes of making the playoffs. But I could be wrong. That being said, though, when they go up to Buffalo, I don't expect them to win that game. I really think that Buffalo is kind of playing like the guys on the team really want to keep their jobs. They feel good about each other. They've really bought into what their coach is trying to go with. And they may even be saving his job. I like Buffalo in this game. I think Miami's going to come up there and run into a big snow wall. It's probably snowing up there.
No, could be. It's been some crazy weather lately. So that bias plus a 57, you're going to go against the bias.
Yes, I am.
All right. You did pretty good against the bias last week.
Now that you mentioned that, I did very well. I won 13 games out of 16. But, you know,
all right.
What do I know?
All right. The bias was about 60-something% straight up.
Yeah.
We had 2 games where teams that, Chiefs were favored, didn't win. Eagles were not favored, won.
They did win, right.
So, some teams beat the bias. I call them bias busters if they have a real high bias score against them and they still win, especially if they win by some points. That differential between what they were supposed to lose by or what they were not favored by and what they actually won by is what determines whether they make the bias buster or not. That biggest differential. Lions-Packers. Packers, 74 net points, bias in their favor. Turnover differential bias in the Packers' favor, also giving them a bias plus score of 80+.
This might actually be a good game to watch, but neither team really has a chance of doing anything. I'm going to go with the Packers, which will be going with the bias on this one. They are at home. If they haven't done anything else, their offensive line has proved that they can run block. Their running game, I thought, might be hampered a little bit when Aaron Jones, who took forever to win the job, or took forever to be
named the starter.
And
we don't know if that was a coaching issue.
Actually proved that he can handle it. And then when he goes down, Jamal Williams, the guy who had the job early on and didn't seem to be doing much with it, turned into Aaron Jones. It was like a miracle. So, that took some pressure off of Aaron Rodgers. I'm sure they want to end the season with a win. I'm sure the Lions want to end the season with a win. I mean, it might actually be a good game to watch, but I'm picking the Packers to win a game that basically means nothing.
Going to the Packers, going with the bias with the Packers. New York Jets are going up to visit with the Patriots. Now, the Patriots have a pretty healthy situation in terms of net points, 149 net point bias in their favor, and a 14 turnover differential bias in the Patriots' favor, giving them a bias plus score of 163. That's pretty strong. And the Patriots need to win.
That's pretty strong. The Patriots, they've already clinched the division. This is a division game.
Will this help them in the seeding, though, if they win?
I'm not exactly sure if they need this game, if it's going to make that much of a difference for them.
In terms of seeding?
In terms of, there's really nothing else to play for seeding in home field.
Right. Nobody has AFC home field, right?
I don't think anybody's clinched
home
field.
No, Saints clinched.
That's still up in the air. So in
up in the air.
In that respect, with the Patriots being a division winner, yes, they have a chance to win home field. So yes, they need this game. Because if nobody else knows it, the Patriots know that they need to be home if they have any chance of going all the way.
You don't think they're that Patriot team that's going on the road?
I believe, I could be wrong, help me out, look this up, make a notation. If you hear this on YouTube, straighten me out if you need to. But I believe that every time the Patriots won the Super Bowl, the AFC had to go through Foxborough. And then when they had to go on the road, they did not go all the way.
What was that the AFC when they played the Broncos that time? Okay, I'm just thinking. I remember when it was a game when they played the Broncos. And I'm wondering if that at the Broncos, and I was wondering if that was one of those times when they had to go. We'll look that up though.
That's probably Tom Peyton Manning beat them. I really don't think they came off of that was the AFC Championship game, if I'm not mistaken.
Okay.
Don't ask me to quote the year, but I can see the game right in front of me. It wasn't that long ago.
Well, this team has clinched. It's all you can clinch is all you can clinch. They can't clinch no more. The Saints against the Panthers. Saints are home with a 152 net point bias in their favor, a 9 turnover differential bias in their favor for a bias plus score of 161. They don't have anything that they can play for, and we know that they're going to be not putting Drew Brees on the field.
Yeah, word's already out that they're going to be resting the starters. Some may not start. Some may have short playing time before they eventually bring in other people to replace them. I know there's some guys that are going to want to stay sharp. Guys like Ted Ginn, who just kind of came back, he'll probably start and play a good amount.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know that Michael Thomas will be in there much. They have a lot of young receivers that they can give time to.
Okay.
Defensively, I'm not exactly sure what kind of shape they're in as far as starters and backups are concerned. But yeah, I still think they'll have enough being at home and schematically to beat the Panthers. So I'm still picking the Saints to win.
Cam's not playing, right?
No, Cam's not.
So Cam's not playing. They have second string coming in. And again.
Oh, it's the boy Heineke. And let me tell you, he wasn't horrible last week.
Okay.
Heineke was not horrible.
And there was a question that I threw out to you, and this is the time as we go through these matchups.
Yeah.
To think about that question as who's going to be the best spoiler team? The team that can spoil the most other teams' dreams.
Well, it'll be the teams that are playing guys that are like one win away from making the playoffs, from getting a spot.
So let's take a look at that as we go through some of these matchups here. Because I was wondering, like, if the Panthers, I don't think the Panthers could be that team because Saints have already locked up everything.
No.
I don't think
They can't spoil anything.
Impact anybody too much in the NFC.
No, they're playing for jobs. They're playing for the jobs.
Now here's something that the New York Giants, who are home against Dallas, and if you guys beat Dallas, that could set off some ripples across the NFC. Chicago, Vikings, all of those guys could be affected. Eagles for sure. And Dallas has a 56 net point bias, not super big and only one. But Giants have a 1 turnover differential bias. Dallas has a bias plus a 55.
But does Dallas really need this game? They clinched the division.
I think, again, if they do, it's a matter of seeding. And that question isn't even that much more interesting when you think about Saquon. We're only needing 114 yards.
Oh.
And if Dallas sits people on defense, he runs wild. He could have 214 yards.
If they don't set people on defense, he's still going to come real close to getting it. I think he's going to get it. But that being said, the Cowboys are in a slight dilemma. I know they want to go out with a win. If it means a little better seed or whatever, I'm sure they don't want to poo-poo that, okay? But by the same token,
did you say poo-poo?
Poo-poo.
You said poo-poo.
I didn't say
on the football show, he said it.
I didn't say poo-poo. I said poo-poo. There's a difference.
It's more acceptable.
Yes, it is acceptable. It's completely different from poo-poo.
On a football show.
They clinched the division, so they're in.
Okay.
You don't want Dak to get hurt. You cannot afford that. You don't want Zeke to get hurt. You cannot afford that. And you surely don't want Amari to get hurt. How bad do you want a little bit better seed? That's their dilemma.
That is the question.
Okay?
That is the question.
That's their dilemma. And they're playing the Giants, and the Giants, everybody's playing for their jobs.
Now, the Giants could be super spoilers.
Well, they're not going to really spoil anything. Dallas already won the division.
All right.
That's not a spoil.
Atlanta and the Bucs, they're not going to spoil anything, no matter who wins it. But Atlanta's 55 net point bias in their favor and a 19 turnover margin bias in their favor. And if you wonder why it's a 19 turnover margin bias in their favor, when you look at the turnover differential for the Tampa Bay, they are 31st with -18. Okay. Atlanta is 14th with +1. So -18, +1, 19. That's a pretty. We know the Bucs can score. We know that the Bucs play terrible defense, and they tend to turn over the ball a lot in their, especially offensively. So, well, that's what you have to do. So, 74 minus plus favor Atlanta.
Again, in a meaningless game, Atlanta has absolutely nothing to prove as far as I'm concerned. There are some players on the Bucs, however, namely Jameis Winston, who may be playing for their jobs, at least their jobs on the team that they're on. And if there's any question about that, then they want to put something on paper, I'm sure, in the last game of the season.
Interesting
for other teams
Bucs
to
are
see.
24th in net points, which is putting, so they're kind of far away from playing for a draft pick. So it wouldn't even really help them.
I don't care about that. I'm talking about the guys that are on the team right now want to stay on the team. Okay. They want to keep their jobs, and they're going to play hard, and they're at home. And the Atlanta defense is nothing. It could be a scoring fest, and I think the Bucs will beat them. I think Jameis is going to dig deep.
So you're going against the
bias
in that case.
I'm going against the bias. If he throws picks, okay, fine. And he has a propensity to do that. However, if he doesn't, they win.
Okay.
As long as he's careful with the ball.
Okay. Jaguars, Texans.
This game means something.
With the Texans having a 123 net point bias and a 23 turnover differential bias, giving them 146 as a bias plus score, favoring the Texans. What does it mean?
As impressed as I have been with Derrick Henry and the Titans, I want the Texans to win this game and end the suspense. If they win, they should clinch the division, clinch their spot, and everything is A-OK for them. The Titans may have a backdoor way in, but their front door way in is they win and the Texans lose. I don't see the Texans losing, especially to the Jaguars, who are without a doubt, my number one most disappointing team.
Bortles is back. What are you talking about?
Bortles is only back because they didn't hide his uniform from him. And when the other guy got hurt, they looked around like, go ahead. Come on, man.
Yeah, go ahead. You're playing for a contract somewhere else.
Bias holds up. Go to Texas.
Go Texas. All righty now. My. This is too much fun. Looking at all these matchups. What do we have next? Ooh. The Chargers.
Nothing to see here either.
They're 91 net point bias in their favor, 6 turnover differential bias, with 85 bias plus 4. Why are you?
Well, okay. They clinched
Chargers
the spot.
got to win, right?
Yeah, they kind of do. They clinched the spot. They're in, but the division is still up for grabs.
Yeah.
They win, Chiefs lose. They could be in.
This is
or
leverage game.
Chiefs
Yeah.
could win, and a combination of other teams losing with the Chargers win could get them in also, I'm pretty sure. So, bottom line for them, they got to win. So, they play their starters. They go into Denver. They win anyway. Denver's defense is just, it's a shambles. It's hard to watch them. I feel so bad for Von Miller. Like, they just, their secondary is trash. It's really bad. Yeah, it's bad. Really. Yeah, so the bias says Chargers, and the sense of urgency says Chargers, so I'm going to say Chargers.
Let me just look at this here. I mean, that's some startling stuff you just threw out on Denver, right?
Right.
And I'm looking, they are 12th on defense and 22nd in scoring.
Right. They've done a complete about-face from the first half of the season.
So that's why they're still up that high, eh?
Yes.
Okay.
They're holding on.
Living off the history.
That's right. But right now, today, they're bad.
All right. The Oakland Raiders against the Chiefs.
Again,
A 257 net point bias.
yeah.
Raiders are feeling themselves. The Chiefs have a turnover differential of 10, giving them a 267 bias plus score. Is it possible? Is it possible?
If the Raiders can rev up whatever little mojo they got from last week, this could be a very dangerous game for the Chiefs. I mean, Derek Carr was kind of like, look, I know my team isn't good, but I'm proving my worth. And there's been a lot of rumors out there about him and Gruden knocking heads and whether or not he can lead a Gruden offense. And I think he wants to, and I think he's trying to prove that he can. Also, Doug Martin was a beast last week, and you know the Chiefs couldn't stop you and me. This could turn out to be quite a game. I expect the Chiefs to win.
So that would make Oakland maybe one of the potential biggest spoilers.
If Oakland was to somehow beat the Chiefs and the Chargers won the game that they should win, yes, they could take the division away from
The whole thing could turn
They could
upside
take the division
down.
away from
Oakland
the Chiefs.
could be the
And it
spoiler.
could also put the Chiefs on the road.
Doesn't that seem like Chucky's destiny to be the ultimate spoiler? Anyway.
I mean, he had one of the worst spoiled things that ever happened to him. The Tuck rule.
Well,
they had that
within
game won. They were going to the Super Bowl. They were going to the Super Bowl. They were halfway in.
That's tough.
But anyway,
I
have no sympathy for the Chiefs if they lose this game.
Chiefs defense is atrocious for the most part. They're really low in the ranking. Oakland isn't much better. As a matter of fact, when I looked at Oakland, they are literally 31st in net points and minus 145. 28th in scoring, 31st in defense, 22nd in turnover difference. So when you look at that, you say there's no way they should win that game.
Right.
But they shouldn't have won last week either.
True. Yeah, you're right.
Should not have won either. All right. Speaking of should not have won, and I think this could be a spoiler. My Niners, my beloved 49ers, against division opponent Rams. First of all, we have the weirdness of a division game going for it.
Mm-hmm.
But the Rams are 240 net point bias in their favor and a 28 turnover differential bias in their favor, especially because my Niners are literally last in turnover differential with minus 21. So, the bias plus goes to the Rams at 232 score in their favor. So, doesn't look much like we should be able to win that game. But we're feisty. Excuse me. And I don't know, is Sherman playing? Sherman's ready to fight somebody, so I know.
Yeah, I don't see any reason why he wouldn't play. I think they'll come out with their guns blazing and try to get everybody involved and see, okay, gang, this is our last game. Let's see if we can go out on a positive note. That's pretty much all they got, and that's okay. Nothing wrong with that.
Chicago Vikings. Could be my intriguing game of the week.
Chicago wins, Vikings are out, and
Chicago's got a bias plus score of 124 to 112 in net points, plus 12, or they're 12 in turnover differential against the Vikings. However, it's Super Bowl or bust for Kirk Cousins. So much pressure on that team, on that quarterback.
There's pressure on the team. There's a lot of pressure on him. How well he handles the pressure that's on him individually will prove a lot as far as whether or not he can make this offense go enough for them to win that game against an extremely tough defense. So, probably couldn't pick a worse team to have to
They
go
have to go up
against,
against,
to have a game to win to get in.
Because Chicago, for seeding purposes, wants to win.
Yes.
So they're not going to sit down. They got to go in there and they got to play. And you and I have debated the Kirk Cousins thing so much, but I had to laugh because if you watch the sports stations, they talk about Kirk Cousins. They talk about whether he can handle the playoff type pressure, and they talk about that game against your Giants, where the Giants had nothing to play for. The Redskins had everything to play for. They were a playoff.
Last year?
I don't know if it was last year, maybe a year or two before that, but he was in that pressure situation through 2 interceptions, and they lost to the Giants, which is funny because you always talk about his team stink, but he had a playoff contending team at that point. And he turned the ball over twice, lost the game.
They still weren't good.
Okay. Righty.
NFC least, remember? Where the division winner always wins about 9 games.
You going with the bias plus?
Yeah, I'm going with the bias plus. I gotta ride the Bears.
Well, heavy there.
Yeah, I did because no, believe me, the Vikings can win the game. In fact, no.
You're feeling yourself like that, were you?
No, I'm not going to do that because I didn't do that last week, and I came out smelling like a grape. So I'm not going to hex myself. Take Chicago.
Take a Chicago.
Yeah.
Next up, another team that needs to win against a team that don't really need to win. The Bengals could be some spoilers. The AFC is still. But I'm saying, if the Bengals won, it would throw a lot of stuff.
Yeah, but they won't.
Okay. But they have the potential to be super spoilers.
The Bengals say,
Steelers are up
I can't wait till this game is over. So the next announcement is Marvin Lewis has been fired.
His name already came up on the list of coaches that are on the.
And he's on the hot seat for the last 10 years, and he's still there.
Got those pictures that you keep talking about. Yeah. Steelers are net point bias of 129 net points in their favor. Bengals have a turnover differential, Mr. Woo, which mitigates that final bias plus score in Steelers favor to 139.
Still triple digits. I'm going with the Steelers. They gotta have it. They gotta have it. And the Bengals are soft. They're soft. They're just gonna flat out outscore. You know.
Get right game.
That's get right game.
That's a get right game.
That's get all the way right
Get
game.
off.
That joint gets them. They're gonna party after that one.
Don't party too much because you got to turn right around and play somebody.
Oh wait. The Ravens haven't clinched anything yet, right?
No.
And the Steelers haven't clinched anything yet, right?
Right.
So that's a hat and t-shirt game.
Hat and t-shirt.
Hat and t-shirt game is
Yeah, man.
division winner. When you win the division, when you go in the locker room, they have division chance. That's a hat and t-shirt game.
Okay. But you're saying, okay, we're talking about the Bengals, you're talking about the Ravens.
I'm talking about the Ravens and the Steelers and how badly they both want to win. Right.
Oh, yeah.
The Steelers are going to lay waste to the Bengals.
All right. Well, before we
Connor's
get
back,
to
they
the
going all
Ravens
out.
game, let's talk about the Cards and the Seahawks. Cards are like interesting. Again, it's a division game, but the Cards are 32nd in net points. They're minus 197. They're 32nd in scoring. They only put up 201 points, and it's 27th in defense and 29th in turnover differential. The Seahawks still need to win, right? So they need to win, especially for seeding purposes. Even though they're in, question is where. And the Cards then could throw some things into whack if they somehow beat the Seahawks, so things can go really out of
If
whack.
they somehow could, it would be shocking. But I look at this game the same way I look at the Steelers-Bengals game. The Seahawks are going to destroy them. They're going to walk up one. They're going to be no doubter.
They do have the largest bias plus score of the week.
Yeah, this is a
Even
no doubter.
300, 276 and 275 and 25.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. I mean, it should be division game. So, all right, let's go to the next one. Another weird situations. We were talking about Josh Johnson. Can you imagine Josh Johnson beat Nick Foles? The Eagles.
This one can happen, bro.
They'd be jumping out windows.
This ain't a Steelers-Bengals game. This can happen. This can happen.
Well, Swearinger's gone. We talked about him being picked up by the Cardinals, right? The whole waiver situation there.
And he was a good player, a starting player. You know, he's gone now.
Now, did you hear what he said?
Yeah, I did, but I can't remember off the top of my head. He complained about the game plan.
You wonder, did he have any validity to that point? Yes.
Yes, but that's probably conduct detrimental to the team.
Oh, yeah. I mean, nobody wants, you come out and openly criticize the coaching and,
Yeah, but do you waive a no doubt starting player on your team, on your defense? Or do you find it?
If you're Washington, they're the ones who went and tried to get rid of Foster, so you don't know what them guys.
They could find him.
They could have. That's what I'm saying. They do things that kind of defy football logic, and their owner, I believe, is the Eagle-centric type of guy. But in any event, the Eagles have a 49 net point bias. As you can see, that's not a super big net point differential. The Eagles are actually still, as a playoff team, in the negative on net points. They are ranking 16th with -5 net points. They're right in the middle on everything else, but they're still in the lower level at 25th in turnover differential.
Mm-hmm.
Washington, and again, this is where both teams are in the negative. Washington, however, -54. We know what's the situation with their quarterback. Injury after injury after injury, down to bringing guys, that have never started, Josh Johnson. It is what it is. But all season, you kind of had the feeling like they were going to be competitive until they started. The black cloud went over.
Yeah, but teams still haven't come in there and really gone at them. They're still playing, I hate to say good football or solid football, but they haven't completely fallen apart. They're still competitive. They still have enough skilled players to stay in games. They just haven't been able to close the games out. Now, their defense obviously has been getting slowly worse and worse. The Eagles' defense somehow, because they've had their injuries now for a while, are beginning to play a little bit better each week. At least they're playing as a team, which actually, and I hardly ever had anything good to say about the Eagles, but I think that's a tribute to their coaching staff and the players buying in and trusting each other. You got to do that, especially on defense. Defensive backs have got to trust each other, and they've got to believe that if you're over top, you better be over top. Don't let me turn around. You know what I mean? That's what I mean by trust. So,
and there were some complaints from callers or whatever about the vanilla defenses that they were playing. But
some of that might have been because he's a
guy that was off the street.
Right. So he probably said, we're going to do what we do best as much as possible until we get really, really good at that. And then I can start to throw this in and that in and this in and that in. Now, if it had cost them games, which it kind of did, but they're still in good position, then you could really complain about that. But we understand what he was doing. Yes, it was very vanilla. Yes, I think he should have attempted to be a little bit more forceful defensively. And
what do you mean by forceful? You're not talking about blitzing, are you?
Blitzing more. Not a lot.
Not a lot. When you blitz, more. You're leaving somebody on an island.
I understand that. But when you got all your starters and you don't blitz and you play your vanilla defense as best you can, you're going to be better than if you got.
I don't know lately if they needed to blitz. I mean, they've been putting pressure. That defensive front four has been putting pressure without blitzing too much.
Yeah.
So
that's true.
That's something that they can kind of depend on. If you can get pressure.
Can you depend on it?
Up to this point, I think they played. I think in the last 2 or 3 games, it was like they've been consistent in pressure on the existing quarterback. I'm surprised on the other end, as far as the offensive line, at the lack of pressure on Nick Foles. I mean, he took a few hits like over the last week.
Their offensive line is playing really, really well. Also, I told you, study Foles and watch his sleight of hand running RPOs. It's really, really good.
We talked about
it's
that.
It's really good.
That was my whole point when I wrote the blog about, will the RPO save the Eagles season for last season? Because as I said, he came up in the option system.
Right.
Some guys, it's a play. It's that they're throwing in here and there.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
But you can see they're going to.
But if you can run.
Seldom do they fool you. He can really fool you. And if he fools us watching TV, he's fooling those guys. And if they slow down
the camera going off in the wrong direction because he pulled the camera.
If he can freeze their mind just for a second, that makes all the difference.
Mike Wallace is returning, which I don't know. I don't think
that would be the other meaning of poo-poo.
Okay. Well, the whole idea behind Mike Wallace is that he's supposed to be able to stretch the field, right?
Yeah.
All right. And we also had some conversation about the whole Nick Foles staying with the Eagles, going contract. Now, what I'm understanding here.
Are we going to go there? Are we going to have that conversation?
Just for a minute.
Okay.
All right. Because it's important. They're playing a division opponent, right? They're playing for their life. Nick Foles is coming in and giving them additional life.
Right.
We were talking about whether he's going to stay or whether he's going to go. But from what I understand, he has a $20 million option in the contract that he has already. I didn't know he had that, but we were talking before.
Would that mean the option to stay another year and earn $20 million?
Yes, with the Eagles, yes.
For 1 year?
Now,
for 1 year?
That's the question. I'm not quite sure. Okay. But $20 million is still $20 million. Now, if he goes in and he wins in Washington, right? Every time he wins from now on, his market value goes up a little bit more. And that's going to that demand, that potential of taking away from the Eagles grows a little bit more. But he's got $20 million, from what I understand, at least. And whether somebody wants to come in and give him a 3 or 5 year contract, taking $20 million a year or more, that's a whole nother.
Which could happen.
And
there's a real good chance of that happening. As opposed to locking in with the Eagles for one more year, going $20 million, and then Wentz explodes next year and he sits the bench all season.
Again, we talked about whether he's the ultimate relief pitcher and whether he could be paid that kind of money to be that relief pitcher.
On the Eagles,
yes. When the Eagles have lost Wentz 2 years in a row, the question is he going to make it through another season? Knowing you got Nick Foles there, if you're trying to make that third Super Bowl run, in a row.
I'm making the highest paid backup.
That's what I'm thinking.
If I'm the Eagles, I'm making the highest paid backup. And then hope that that's good enough for him. He'll either say, I will take this amount of money and stay here as the backup because I know my chances of starting, according to his injury history, are okay to pretty good. And I know that if I do, I will be comfortable with the offense when I come in there. That's got to be a part of the equation too. Or is my desire for at least that kind of money and probably more to be a starter in the NFL before I'm out of here? I already got a Super Bowl. Maybe I take the money.
Well, I think that sentiment falls strong with him toward the Eagles.
As it should. So, he's had good times here. He's always saying that.
So, be interesting. All right. We talked about the Ravens. But look who they got to deal with. Ravens are on 131 net point bias. The Browns are 14 turnover differential bias. We had that long conversation about the Ravens and turnovers in the top 5 show. The Ravens have a bias plus score that's been mitigated from 131 on the net point basis down to 117 for a bias plus. Who you got?
Let me refer back to the Steelers-Bengals game one last time. The Bengals are not capable of beating the Steelers, not at this time, in this situation, on their field. The Browns, I believe, if given the opportunity and they come right, have have a chance to beat the Ravens. The Ravens should be very afraid right now. They should be very afraid because everybody's looking at them. Everybody's praising them. Everybody can't wait for them to win and Lamar to get to the playoffs and see how he wrecks these other teams' defenses and their strong running game and all that. That could all go up in smoke by Baker Mayfield.
And that Browns defense, which we talked about earlier, we were looking at them. They were hot. They cooled off. Now they look a little more hot again.
That's right.
I think that, and you got two rookie quarterbacks. They're both rookies.
That's right.
But they're both rookies. One defense is a little more mature than the other defense. But the Ravens are number one.
What the Ravens really have going for them is the strength of their defense is their secondary. Mm-hmm. It really is. Their secondary is all hell.
The Browns
don't get a lot of interceptions. They just lock you down. That's going to be tough.
The Browns are going to have to depend on Nick
Chubb,
baby.
But ain't nobody really been running on the Ravens either. They've been so strong. They're just strong, man. They're just strong. Where they at points against? Number one. Oh,
yeah, that's what I was saying to you. They're number one.
So they just lock you down and don't let you score. They don't need a high, and that's the good thing about them. They're so good that they don't need a lot of turnovers.
They don't even need a lot of points
to beat you because they don't let you get on the scoreboard.
And they really control time possession.
Well, there's your hat off to Lamar in that running game.
Really do.
And it even got better now because Gus Edwards came out of nowhere, and then people forgot about the guy Dixon. He had been suspended for substance abuse for steroid substance abuse though, I think, for the first 6 games. Then he came back and he was on the bench. Ooh. And now, voila, they got a 1-2 punch again. Well, they got a 1-2-3 punch counting Lamar.
Right.
Their running game is serious. It's serious. But they better watch out. I'm picking them to win, but that'll hurt it.
Going with the Ravens. Going with the bias.
Baker beats them. I tell you what, if Baker beats them, I predict that the interim coach for the Browns gets hired.
Okay, all right. Bold prediction.
That'll be such a huge win. That'll be a huge win for them. Knock the Ravens out of the playoffs. The Ravens came from Cleveland. The whole. Yeah, that would be gigantic.
That would be kind of crazy. All righty. Man, what do we have here?
This is a toughie.
What do we got here? Now, Colts have a net point bias in their favor of 50 and a 1 turnover differential bias in their favor. 5+ isn't big at 51. Derrick Henry, Andrew Luck. We're going to take a look at Captain Luck's, Captain Andrew.
Oh, okay.
Twitter. It's absolutely hilarious. You like the Colts? Can you stand that? Or is Derrick Henry going to upset the apple cart here?
Well, since we're talking about Derrick Henry, let's look at the Colts defensively. They're 13 in points against. I'm trying to think, are they weak at the run or weak against the pass? I'm kind of thinking their run defense might be their weakness, in which case that would be good for the Titans because Derrick Henry's on fire. And Mariota will not have to throw the ball.
That sounds like fantasy thinking.
Well, that's right. It kind of is, but again, these are the real facts that weigh into the choices that you make. So, in that respect, and the fact that the Titans are number 2 in points against, you think about Andrew Luck and how well he's playing and their offense and how they seem to be clicking, and they're getting ready to run up against a little something.
Could be good.
All that being said, I already said I prefer to see the Texans in the playoffs, and I believe I'm going to need a Titans loss to fully make that happen. So I'm not going to go with the Titans. I'm going to pick the Colts. Now, if a Colts win puts them in or not, I'm not sure. That's going to depend on some other things that happen. Okay? I know a Colts win pretty much spells doom for the Titans. But I don't know what reward the Colts will reap from their win. But I believe they're still in the hunt.
This will be the Sunday night game.
Wow. So they'll already know all the other scenarios will be laid out.
The first, again, everything being on Sunday, and I even put this out on Twitter. NFL Red Zone should be fun because your 1 o'clock games, there's 7 of them.
Right.
So they only got 7 games to run around across the league, and then there's 8 in the 4 to 4:30 range.
Right.
So
and then the late game, and that's it.
Late game, and that's it. No Sunday night.
Right.
Anyway.
Yeah, Sunday night's gonna be hot.
This wraps it up right here, man. This was the last game of the 2018 season. Man. The Colts have a 51 5+ score. All right. This has Ben and Barry on Football, the Matchup Show. We want to first let you know how you can find us on YouTube at www.benandbarryonfootball.com. Excuse me. Should have put that on there, right? What was that? .com. Oh. .com.
You'll get there.
On Twitter at BNBOnFootball and on Facebook at BNBOF. I'm going to try to change that and get them both to be the same.
Mm-hmm.
However, what we want to do here is we want to talk a little bit about, excuse me, that social media. Yes. Let you see a little bit about what we're talking about. So here you have, excuse me, the Twitter account. And, happy holidays, excuse me, to everybody. And we always like to talk about some of the good things that happen. This is Ben.
Mm-hmm.
This is your Josh Johnson history right here.
Oh, okay. Cool. Let's look at that real quick. So we're going top to bottom, right? Yeah, we are. 2012, Sacramento Mountain Lions. Now, is that some kind of a minor league or is that an arena? That might be an arena team of some sort. Cleveland Browns for a year. Cincinnati for a year. San Fran for a year. Cincinnati back again for part of a year, and then over to Buffalo, which is where I remember him at. So I remember him at Buffalo.
2015, he was moving. He was with the Bengals, the Jets, the Colts, and the Bills.
Yeah, he got bounced around.
All right.
Then to the Ravens, then to the Giants. I kind of remember him on the Giants, but he was like third string.
So that's where he was at in 2018.
Yeah, the Raiders, isn't that something? Wow,
that's a heck of a history. So if you go to our Twitter page, you have your Pro Bowl rosters. We didn't really talk about the Pro Bowl much. I think I might put together a good rant on the Pro Bowl tonight. That has to do with the Pro Bowl. Did they change the week at all? It's not after the Super Bowl again, but
no, it's the week before.
Yeah.
So if you're a Super Bowl performer, you will not be able to play in the Pro Bowl. That's okay.
As you scroll through on the Twitter page, you'll find some other information out. We do like to try to highlight some of the great things that some of the players are doing out in the community. All the different foundations and nonprofits that players are running. The league got in line with My Cause, My Cleats, and they were able to redo their cleats over with artwork promoting their cause. So really, some really good stuff like that. We always like to talk about some of the good things because you will tend not to hear that stuff. You know, you hear all the other stuff. So it's so much going on. Mike Evans Family Foundation provides scholarships to children. Again, my cause, my fleet. So go to Ben and Barry on football. You can connect with a wealth of NFL players, coaches, analysts, et cetera, people you might not know. We are following, I believe, to be a valuable group of people. Hey, look, Tony Kornheiser. Now, who else would you want to talk to and tweet at? Besides that, again, we are on Facebook. Again, happy holidays. When you see these two faces, you know you're in the right place. And we sometimes share that down. This is one of my points that I made on our thing. Denver's down 17, 9 minutes for that. Let's start getting out of bounds, control the clock. You know, at least act like you want to, you know, don't let the clock just run. You know, Jack Ham, man. Jack Ham. There's our Josh Johnson again. So visit Ben and Barry on football there at our Twitter. Our website will take you to YouTube directly and on Facebook. So as we begin to close out the show, do you have any rants?
No, I have no rants. The season's over. I'm ready for the playoffs to begin. I didn't win as many fantasy leagues as I would have liked. And for some reason, ESPN's fantasy leagues are going all the way to week 17. So now I'm still in like 8 championships. What they did was they put week 16 and week 17 together. So at the end of week 17, if I was behind, I didn't lose. I still have another week to play. So most of those scores are either close or I'm a little bit ahead. But it was tricky figuring out starting lineups because of situations like the Saints. Like I had Drew Brees on a lot of teams. I can't start him. He may not start the game at all. Kamara may only play a series or two or a half. Right. So guys that have been my fantasy studs going down to the wire, now it's the most important weekend of them all, and I can't play them.
Right.
So I had to go to the waiver wire.
Again.
Yeah, I had to make moves.
The waiver wire.
And luckily, and I took a chance because of the trend from being in some of these leagues where people don't necessarily pay attention. And I found that I didn't really have to hit the waiver wire, that I waited till Wednesday when everybody became free again, and boom, there was just a plethora of players there for me to take.
So if you know what you're doing, hey, you pick it. Well, on my side, we talked at the beginning of the season that I was going to, I'm the Madden guy, that I was going to try to get my online Madden score up. We talked a little bit about that. I really didn't get a chance to play as much online. This whole compilation of data and things of that nature that we've been working on really took more time than I thought. And I could get a game in every once in a while. And live games are just difficult because with all the other business things that I'm doing, I need interruptible gaming. So if I'm sitting there and I decide to pull up a game and the phone rings, if I'm playing somebody live, you know, I don't want to be in that situation where I just have to quit, especially if you're trying to get your rankings up. So I did start a franchise in Madden. I play with the Niners. I made it to the Super Bowl. And you know how you get the feeling that this ain't feeling good. Something don't feel right here. Well, my preference is whenever I get up, you know, when I play is to kick the ball, right? And flip the coin.
We talk about the opening kickoff?
Huh? Yeah, on the opening kickoff. I want to kick the ball off. I
prefer.
Right.
Okay.
But you don't always.
Did you win the toss?
I guess not. Because I looked, it's funny because you're playing and I'm a little distracted for a moment and I looked up and I'm kicking off. I'm like, ooh, why am I, no, I'm receiving.
You're receiving and you're like, why am I receiving?
So right. I didn't like that. But the bigger surprise, Eddie, was who I was playing.
Browns. The Browns?
The Browns.
Okay. So the computer got the Browns to the championship.
Super Bowl. Browns are in the Super Bowl.
Okay. obviously the real Browns are not the Madden Browns.
Yeah, but still, no. It's the Browns. And I'm like, oh, it's the Browns. This is what was really weird. They beat me deep like 3 times, and I think twice on Sherman's side. And I'm normally good on Sherman's side. I'm kind of, make sure that I'm working that other side, and I'm looking up at Sherman getting smoked, and I'm like, this ain't good.
Now, let's remember a conversation that we had about Madden ratings. Okay, and how they could change, especially when there's rookies or inexperienced or dudes that, you know what I mean? As the season goes on and they show better awareness, they show more speed than they thought they had, they show, then their ratings are going to go up. And if you have players that have been playing all season and they've been losing and maybe haven't had a chance to show off better ratings, then the ratings are going to stay where they are, or they may possibly drop a little bit. So you have a team that's ascending because of real life things. Why are you smiling at me like that? Am I making sense?
Remember,
I'm making sense.
No, not in this case, because we're in a franchise, and when you're franchise, you could be ascending within the franchise, but it wouldn't have anything to do with how you're playing outside in real life.
But it would have something to do with what you're doing in real life. Has something to do with how you play within the franchise, though.
No.
And that's what we're talking about. It does, too.
You don't even play that. What are you talking about?
Because you told me enough about, okay.
Again,
if Baker Mayfield came in as a rookie quarterback.
This is the franchise mode.
So you go on franchise mode in the beginning of the NFL season. And Baker Mayfield, and I'm just going to throw a number out there, is rated at an overall 65.
Okay.
And then he starts.
Okay.
And he starts playing out of his mind, and now it's week 17.
Now, playing out of his mind, excuse me. You talking about in real life or within?
I'm talking about in real life.
In real life, okay.
Yes.
So,
what's his Madden rating in week 16, 17? Is it still 65? Chances are it's not, right?
It's not going to change because of what he was doing in real life. What I'm telling you is that within the franchise, okay, it could improve. Within the franchise, his ratings could change. And what makes it,
what?
Yeah. Because within the franchise, I can improve my own players. Like after every game, they give you like a point system. And so you can like improve his awareness by 1, or you can improve the overall team, things like that. That's built into the software. So the franchise is insulated once you start. Now, for example, when I started, I was playing with C.J. Beathard, okay? Whatever C.J. Beathard was, that's where he was. He didn't go down after Nick Mullins came in or nothing like that. The software.
Well, he wouldn't go down if he's not playing
number one, I'm not playing online, okay?
All right.
But when I do update the person, the rosters, right? They update the rosters. If I'm playing an exhibition game and I'm using the updated roster, yeah. If I'm playing online, I'm using the updated roster, yeah. But within a franchise, that update doesn't come to you. Doesn't go through there.
But their ratings can change according to how well they do by your manipulation.
My team, yes.
I think that's ridiculous.
And I'm thinking that.
What's the next point? That's ridiculous. So you've detached yourself even more from real football.
So yes. Yeah, the franchise.
It's all about this.
Yeah.
Not the real person.
Well, again.
And you telling me.
Baker Mayfield came in as Baker Mayfield. CJ came in as CJ. Now, as I said to you, how much that team will improve just based on the software, I don't know exactly. But I can tell you that I can improve my team, my players, attributes, as I go through a season. Depending on your wins and your numbers and all that, I can go in and I can say, okay, I have X amount of points to use. Yeah. I can improve.
That's real fantasy.
Players.
That's real fantasy. That's fantasy. That has nothing to do with real life.
I said that.
Okay.
But the fact of the matter is, if you're playing the game, you still have to play based on what everybody's ratings are. Still, whatever they are within the franchise.
Right, but it has nothing to do with real life.
My Niners were my Niners. They didn't all of a sudden get, they got better during the franchise. because I was playing with them.
Because
and strategically making adjustments.
Okay.
I don't know how much of that type of adjustments the software made.
So that should
But-
actually be called fantasy mode instead of franchise mode.
Well, it's franchise because you play the same schedule.
Oh, okay.
You know, so it's your franchise. You can be, you know, the coach. You can do all types of stuff within that. But you still got to win the game. Whatever's on the field, whatever they put on the field, that's what you got to play against. And I was like, the Browns got me. It was just anyway, I think we've ruined enough time. Are you ready? Any last words?
Just go nose.
Go no. Thank you much.